3 months after the battle, Captain Mordun sat in a holding cell aboard the Teguk. The human ship had become famous across the galaxy as the vessel that ended the Empire's expansion. Now it served as the flagship of Earth's new space fleet. Mordun looked up as the cell door opened. A human woman entered wearing the uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. She was middle-aged with kind eyes, but Mordun had learned not to underestimate humans based on their appearance. Captain Mordun, Ambassador Shin Youngmi said politely, "I hope you are being treated well." "Better than I expected," Mordun admitted. "Your people could have executed me as a war criminal. Instead, you give me comfortable quarters and regular meals." "Why?" Shin sat down across from him. "Because we are not like the Empire, Captain. We do not believe in unnecessary cruelty. You were following orders from your superiors. We understand that, it was true." The humans had treated their prisoners with surprising kindness. Imperial propaganda had always claimed that primitive species were savage and violent. But these humans seemed more civilized than many Imperial citizens. "What do you want from me?" Mordun asked. "Information," Shin replied honestly. "We need to understand how the Empire works. How many fleets do they have? Which worlds are loyal and which are held by force? We know they will come back eventually and we want to be ready." Mordun considered this. In the months since his capture, he had watched human news broadcasts and learned things that shocked him. The battle at Earth had not been an isolated incident. Human agents had been active across the galaxy for decades, secretly helping other species resist Imperial rule. "You have been planning this for a long time," he said. Shin smiled. "Longer than you might think. When we first detected alien signals 70 years ago, we realized we had two choices. We could announce ourselves to the galaxy and hope for the best, or we could watch and learn first. We chose to be patient. It had been the right choice. While the Empire expanded across the galaxy, humans had been studying every species they encountered. They learned languages, customs, and most importantly, they learned which worlds wanted freedom from Imperial rule. "The news of your victory has spread everywhere," Mordun told her. "Half the galaxy knows that the Empire can be defeated. Rebellions have started on dozens of worlds." This was exactly what Admiral Park had hoped for. From her command center on the moon, she coordinated humanity's new role as liberators rather than conquerors. Instead of building an empire of their own, humans were helping other species gain independence. General Ko Jae-sung commanded the military side of these operations. His forces had grown from the secret fleets that defended Earth to a coalition of ships from many different worlds. Former Imperial colonies were sending their own vessels to join the fight for galactic freedom. "The Zephyrians have agreed to join our alliance," Ko reported during a strategy meeting. "That gives us access to their shipyards and rare metal mines. The Crystalline Collective is also interested in talks." Captain Ryu Haijin, who now commanded Earth's expanded defensive fleet, studied the tactical displays. "The Empire is massing forces near the core systems. Intelligence suggests they are planning a major counterattack." "Let them come," said Admiral Park. "We are not the same species they tried to harvest 3 months ago. Every day we grow stronger, and every day more worlds join our cause." The truth was that humanity had become something the galaxy had never seen before, a power that grew stronger by making others stronger rather than weaker. Instead of conquering planets, humans shared technology and knowledge. Instead of demanding tribute, they offered protection and partnership. Dr. No Kyung-soo led the technology-sharing programs that made this possible. His teams worked with alien scientists to adapt human innovations for different species and environments. "The atmospheric processors we developed for the methane breathers are working perfectly," El reported. "They can now terraform dead worlds in half the time it used to take. In return, they are sharing their bioengineering techniques with us." It was a revolution in how galactic civilization worked. For centuries, the Empire had maintained control by keeping subject species weak and dependent. Humans were proving that cooperation made everyone stronger. Captain Lee Dae-ho, now Admiral Lee, commanded the Teguk as it traveled between allied worlds. The great ship had become a symbol of hope for oppressed species everywhere. When it appeared in a system, Imperial forces usually retreated rather than face the vessel that had destroyed their harvest fleet. "Sir," reported his communications officer Lee Min-ho, "we are receiving a priority message from Earth. Ambassador Shin has completed negotiations with the Empire." Dae-ho smiled. After months of secret talks, the Empire had finally agreed to formal negotiations. The defeat at Earth had cost them too much to ignore, and rebellions across the galaxy were stretching their forces thin. "Put her through," Daeho ordered. Ambassador Shin appeared on the main screen. She was speaking from a neutral space station where diplomats from dozens of species had gathered for the most important peace conference in galactic history. "Admiral," she reported, "the Empire has agreed to our terms. They will recognize the independence of all worlds that have declared freedom in the past year. They will also establish a neutral zone around Earth and our allied systems." It was more than humanity could have hoped for when the first Imperial ships arrived at Earth. The Empire was not destroyed, but its expansion had been permanently stopped. More importantly, the galaxy now knew that freedom was possible. "What about reparations for the worlds they damaged?" Daeho asked. "They have agreed to provide technological assistance to help rebuild," Shin replied. "It is not everything we wanted, but it is a start." The peace treaty was signed by representatives from over 200 worlds. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy had a balance of power that protected small species from being absorbed by larger empires. Captain Morden was released as part of the prisoner exchange that followed the treaty. Before he left, he met with Admiral Daeho one final time. "I want you to know," Morden said, "that you have changed how I think about primitive species. The Empire taught us that technology made us superior, but you proved that wisdom and patience can be more powerful than weapons." Daeho shook the alien captain's hand. "Perhaps someday your people will choose cooperation over conquest. When they do, humanity will be ready to welcome them as friends." As Morden's ship departed for Imperial space, Daeho stood on the bridge of the Taeguk and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, species that had been enslaved for generations were building their own ships and planning their own futures. The galaxy was becoming a place where strength came from unity rather than domination. Admiral Park's voice came over the ship's communication system. "All ships, this is Earth Command. The treaty has been ratified by all parties. Our mission has changed from defense to exploration. It is time to see what else is out there beyond the Empire's borders." Daeho smiled as he gave orders to set course for unexplored space. Humanity had spent 70 years hiding and preparing for war. Now they could finally do what they had always done best: explore, learn, and make friends with whoever they met along the way. The quiet world that had once hidden beneath the ocean was quiet no more. Earth had become the center of a new galactic civilization, built on cooperation instead of conquest. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, other species were sending out their first signals to space, wondering if anyone friendly might be listening. The game had indeed changed completely. Admiral Vextar gripped the railing of his bridge as another Imperial dreadnought exploded in the distance. The humans were cutting through his fleet like it was made of paper. This was not how harvest operations were supposed to go. "Get me reinforcements," he screamed at his communications officer. "Contact the nearest Imperial base and tell them we need the entire 3rd Battle Fleet immediately." "Sir?" the officer replied nervously. "The nearest reinforcements are 6 hours away. At our current rate of losses, we may not have any ships left by then." Captain Morden studied the tactical display with growing respect for their human enemies. "Admiral, look at their attack patterns. They are not fighting like primitives. Every move is coordinated perfectly. They know exactly where to hit us to cause maximum damage." It was true. The human fighters moved like they had been studying Imperial ship designs for years. They targeted specific weapon systems, engine ports, and shield generators with surgical precision. Meanwhile, the larger human ships used tactics that the Empire had never seen before. "Sir," called the sensor officer. "Multiple large contacts approaching from the outer system. It's another human fleet." On the main screen, they watched as dozens of new ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Mars. These vessels were even larger than the ones already fighting around Earth. Leading them was a massive battleship that made even the Taeguk look small. Admiral Lim Seung-hoon commanded the 2nd Hidden Fleet from his flagship Seoul. He had been waiting at the Mars base for 20 years. Just like Captain Daeho had been waiting beneath the ocean, now both fleets were finally working together. "This is Admiral Lim to all Earth Defense Forces," he broadcast. "The 2nd Fleet has arrived. Let's finish this." Vextar watched the new human ships approach and felt something he had never experienced before: fear. The Empire had never lost a harvest operation. In 300 years of expansion, Imperial fleets had conquered every species they encountered. But these humans were different. "Sir," Morden said quietly, "I recommend we withdraw immediately. We are outnumbered and outmatched." "Never," Vextar snarled. "The Empire does not retreat from primitives. Focus all firepower on their largest ship. If we can destroy their flagship, the rest will panic." But the humans did not panic. Instead, they adapted their tactics to protect the Teguk while continuing their relentless attack. Small ships formed defensive screens while larger vessels concentrated their fire on Imperial weak points that should have been impossible to detect. On the Teguk, Captain Deho coordinated the battle from his command center. Every human ship in the fleet was linked to his tactical computer, creating a network that responded faster than any Imperial command system. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Nam Subin, "the aliens are concentrating their attack on us. Should we pull back?" "Negative," Deho replied. "Let them focus on the Teguk. Our shields can handle their weapons. Meanwhile, the rest of the fleet can destroy them while they're distracted." Dr. Song Mire monitored the ship's weapons from her station in the engineering section. She had spent 15 years developing the plasma cannons that were now tearing through alien armor like it was tissue paper. "Captain," she reported, "all weapon systems are operating at peak efficiency. The aliens' shields cannot adapt to our frequency rotation fast enough." It was another advantage the humans had gained through years of careful observation. They had studied Imperial technology and found ways to overcome every defense. The aliens, meanwhile, had no idea how human technology worked, because they had never seen it before. Captain Otaiman's submarine launched a spread of torpedoes that traveled through space like they were still underwater. The weapons used the same stealth technology that had hidden human ships for decades. By the time the aliens detected them, it was too late to defend. "Direct hit on the Imperial flagship," O reported with satisfaction. "Their main engines are offline." Commander Yoon Ji-hai led her fighter squadron in another attack run against the crippled alien ship. Her pilots moved with precision that came from years of training in secret facilities around the world. "Blue Squadron, follow my lead," she called over the radio. "Target their weapon ports. Don't give them a chance to repair." Flight Officer An Ju-wan was one of the youngest pilots in the squadron, but he flew like he had been born in space. His fighter danced between alien defense beams, getting closer to the enemy flagship than anyone thought possible. "I can see a weak point in their armor," An reported. "If I can get a torpedo through that gap, I can reach their main reactor." "Negative," Yoon replied immediately. "That approach is too dangerous. You would have to fly directly through their defensive fire." "Commander," An said calmly, "we trained our whole lives for this moment. Let me do my job." Before Yoon could stop him, An's fighter dove toward the Imperial flagship like a meteor. Alien weapons fire lit up space around him, but his ship was too small and fast to hit. He reached the gap in their armor and fired his torpedo at point-blank range. The explosion that followed could be seen from Earth's surface. The Imperial flagship broke apart in a ball of fire that took Admiral Vextar and most of his command staff with it. "On," Yoon called over the radio, but there was no response. The young pilot's ship had been destroyed in the explosion, but his sacrifice had crippled the alien fleet's command structure. Without their flagship to coordinate their movements, the remaining Imperial ships began to fall back in confusion. Human forces pressed their advantage, destroying alien vessels faster than they could retreat. Captain Morden found himself in command of what was left of the Imperial fleet. Less than 15 ships remained from the 50 that had arrived to harvest Earth. As he looked at the tactical display, he realized the battle was lost. "All ships," he broadcast to the surviving vessels, "retreat to hyperspace jump points. We cannot win this engagement," but the humans were not finished. Admiral Park's voice came over every communication channel in the solar system, speaking directly to the fleeing aliens. "Captain Morden of the Imperial fleet," she said, "you came here to harvest our world and enslave our people. You killed innocent humans in your attack. Before you leave, you will answer for those crimes." Morden was shocked that the humans knew his name and rank. How much did they really know about the Empire? How long had they been watching and planning? "Human commander," he replied, "the Empire will send more fleets. You cannot fight the entire galaxy." "Maybe not," Admiral Park admitted, "but we can fight you. And we can make sure that every species in the galaxy knows that the Empire can be defeated. Your harvest operations end here." The remaining Imperial ships limped toward the edge of the solar system, pursued by human vessels that continued to pick them off one by one. By the time they reached safety, only 8 ships remained from the Great Harvest Fleet. Captain Morden looked back at Earth one last time before his ship jumped to hyperspace. The blue planet looked the same as when they had arrived, but everything had changed. The Empire had suffered its first major defeat in 3 centuries, and the humans responsible for that defeat were still out there, stronger than ever. As his ship disappeared into hyperspace, Morden wondered what would happen when news of this battle reached the rest of the galaxy. The Empire's enemies would take hope, and its allies would begin to doubt. The humans had done more than defend their world. They had changed the balance of power across the entire galaxy. Behind him, Earth's defenders began the long process of cleaning up after their first real battle. They had won, but they knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would return with larger fleets and better preparation, but humanity would be ready for them too. Fleet Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the blue and green planet below. Earth looked peaceful and beautiful, just like the hundreds of other worlds he had conquered for the Galactic Empire. Soon it would belong to the Empire, and its people would serve as workers in the great machine of galactic civilization. Status report, Vextar demanded from his tactical officer. 50 dreadnoughts in perfect formation. Admiral, the officer replied. All weapon systems ready. Pacification protocols loaded and standing by. Vextar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The harvest operation would be simple and quick. His scouts had been watching Earth for 2 years. The planet had no real military, no space defenses, and no weapons that could threaten Imperial ships. The humans still used chemical rockets and metal projectiles. They were barely more advanced than animals. Captain Morden approached from the sensor station. He was an older officer who had served in many harvest operations. Admiral, I have completed the final scans of the planet. The humans appear to be in a state of panic. Their primitive communication networks are full of fear and confusion. Excellent, Vextar said. Fear makes them easier to control. Have you detected any military response? Nothing significant, Morden replied. A few of their atmospheric fighters have launched from various bases. Some surface ships are moving in their oceans, but their technology is so primitive that our shields will not even notice their weapons. Vextar nodded with satisfaction. This would be one of the easiest conquests in his career. The humans had no idea what was about to happen to them. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Captain Lee Daeho watched the alien fleet on his screens. The 50 massive ships looked like dark clouds against the stars. Each one was over 2 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could destroy entire cities. Sir, reported Lee Minho from his communication station, we are receiving the alien broadcast on all frequencies. Put it on the main screen, Daeho ordered. The bridge became quiet as Admiral Vextar appeared on their screen. The alien leader was tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. When he spoke, his voice was cold and without emotion. People of Earth, Vextar began. I am Fleet Admiral Vextar of the Galactic Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our civilization. You will surrender all military forces immediately and prepare to receive our representatives. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your cities and the death of millions of your people, the message continued, with details about surrender, procedures and warnings about what would happen to anyone who fought back. Daeho had heard similar messages before from recordings of other conquered worlds. The Empire always gave the same ultimatum. Captain, called Engineer Choi Yoonji, Admiral Park is activating Protocol Phoenix across all hidden bases. Daeho felt his heart beat faster. Protocol Phoenix was the signal they had all been waiting for. It meant the time for hiding was over. Around the world, things began to happen that the aliens could not see. Under a mountain in Korea, massive doors opened to reveal launch tubes for 30 destroyers. Beneath the ice in Antarctica, a hidden base powered up weapons that had been sleeping for decades. On the dark side of the moon, gun platforms emerged from fake craters where they had been hiding. In underground facilities across Earth, thousands of people who had lived their entire lives in secret began preparing for war. Fighter pilots climbed into ships that officially did not exist. Engineers started reactors that generated more power than entire cities. Communications officers began coordinating a fleet that the aliens had never detected. All stations report ready, Minho announced. The surface fleet is beginning ascent procedures. Daeho walked to the main control panel. His hand moved to a red switch that he had never touched before. This switch would begin the sequence that would bring the Taeguk to the surface. Wait for my command, he told his crew. Let the aliens make the first move. The world needs to see what they really are. On the surface, the governments of Earth were playing their parts perfectly. Television broadcasts showed military leaders talking about surrender. Politicians gave speeches about saving lives and avoiding destruction. To anyone watching, it looked like humanity was giving up without a fight, but Captain Morden felt something was wrong. He had conquered many worlds, and usually there was more panic, more confusion. The humans seemed almost too calm for a species facing extinction. Admiral, he said to Vextar, permission to conduct deeper scans of the planet. Denied, Vextar replied impatiently. Our scouts have already scanned everything worth scanning. These primitives have no technology that can hide from our sensors. Begin pacification protocols immediately. Captain Morden did not argue, but his unease grew stronger. Something about this felt different from other harvests. In space above Earth, the Imperial fleet began to move into attack positions. Weapons that could melt mountains began charging with deadly energy. The harvest of Earth was about to begin. Sir, Minho reported, the aliens are targeting major population centers. London, New York, Tokyo, Beijing. They are preparing to fire. Daeho gripped the control panel. Around him, his crew waited for orders. In the engine room far below, Chief Petty Officer Bae Wansik had his hand on the reactor controls. In the fighter bays, Commander Yoon Ji-hai and her pilots sat in their ships with engines warming up. Captain, called the tactical officer. First alien weapons fire detected. They are hitting military targets to show their power. On the screen, Daeho watched explosions bloom on the surface far above. The aliens were destroying empty military bases and abandoned installations. They thought they were crippling Earth's defenses, but they were actually destroying worthless targets that humans had left for them to find. That's enough, Daeho said quietly. Then he raised his voice so everyone could hear. All hands prepare for surface operations. Today we show these aliens what happens when someone threatens our home. He flipped the red switch. Deep in the ocean, massive pumps began pushing water out of ballast tanks larger than office buildings. The Taeguk, which had rested on the ocean floor for 20 years, began to rise toward the surface like a metal mountain coming to life. Sir, Choi reported. Ascent is proceeding normally. We will break the surface in 4 minutes. Daeho opened a communication channel to Admiral Park. Control, this is Taeguk Actual. We are beginning surface operations. Understood, Captain, Park replied. The entire world is watching. Show them what humanity can do. As the great ship rose through the dark water, fish scattered in all directions. The ocean above began to glow with the light of the ship's engines. Soon the aliens would learn that Earth was not as defenseless as they thought. The game was about to change completely. Captain Lee Daeho stood in the command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The massive room was dark except for the soft blue glow of computer screens. Around him, hundreds of crew members worked quietly at their stations. They had been waiting for this moment for 20 years. Above them, 3 kilometers of water hid the greatest secret humanity had ever kept. The supercarrier Taeguk lay sleeping on the ocean floor like a metal giant. At 15 kilometers long, it was bigger than most cities. But to the aliens watching Earth from space, it did not exist. Daeho looked at the main screen. It showed alien ships moving around Earth's orbit like sharks circling their prey. The ships belonged to the Galactic Empire. For months they had been watching and waiting. They thought Earth was just another weak planet full of primitive humans. Sir, we have a message from Admiral Park, said Lee Minho, his younger brother who worked at the communications station. She wants to speak with all ship commanders. Daeho nodded. He had been expecting this call. Admiral Park Sojin was the leader of Earth's secret space defense force. She was the woman who had spent her entire life preparing for this day. Only a few thousand people on Earth knew she existed. The screen changed to show Admiral Park's face. She was in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes. Behind her, Daeho could see the command center of the hidden moon base. Like the Taeguk, it had been built in secret over many years. Commanders, Admiral Park began. Today our long wait ends. The Empire has decided to harvest our world. Their harvest fleets are moving into position. Intelligence reports show they plan to begin pacification protocols within 6 hours. Daeho felt his stomach tighten. Pacification protocols meant the aliens would start killing humans to make them easier to control. The Empire had done this to hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. The surface governments are playing their parts well, Park continued. To the aliens, we look panicked and helpless. Our fake military responses are exactly what they expect from a primitive species. But we know better. Dr. Kim Hyun-woo appeared on another part of the screen. He was the chief scientist who had designed most of their secret technology. All systems are green across the fleet, he reported. Cloaking devices are stable. Weapons are charged. The underground factories have produced enough ships and supplies for a long war. Commander Yoon Ji-hai spoke next. She led the fighter pilots who would launch from the Taeguk. My squadrons are ready, Admiral. We have been training for this our whole lives. Daeho smiled slightly. Yoon was right. Most of the crew had been born into this secret world. They had grown up knowing that someday they would have to defend Earth against aliens. Their parents and grandparents had built the ships and bases in hidden places around the world. The plan had started 70 years ago, when humans first detected alien signals from space. Instead of trying to contact the aliens, Earth's leaders made a different choice. They decided to hide and prepare. Secret factories were built under mountains and beneath the ocean. The best scientists worked on technology that could match alien weapons. Miners dug metals from asteroids using tiny robotic ships that looked like space rocks. Everything was designed to stay hidden from alien sensors. Remember, Admiral Park said, the aliens think we are just smart animals with simple tools. They have watched us fight small wars with chemical rockets and metal bullets. They have seen our space stations and moon landings. To them, we look exactly like a species that just learned to leave its home planet. It was the perfect disguise. While the aliens watched, humans fought wars on the surface with old weapons. They launched primitive rockets to low orbit. They built space stations that looked basic and weak, but underneath they were building starships that could travel between stars. Sir, called engineer Choi Yoon-ji from her station. The cloaking field is holding steady. Water temperature is normal. The aliens still cannot detect us. Daeho walked to the main view screen. It showed the ocean above them as seen through hidden sensors. Schools of fish swam past, unaware that the largest warship ever built was sitting below them. The Taeguk looked like part of the ocean floor. Its surface was covered with materials that absorbed alien scanner beams. Captain, Minho said quietly, do you think the plan will work? Daeho looked at his younger brother. Minho was only 25, but he was one of the best communications officers in the fleet. Like everyone else, he had been chosen for this mission because of his skills and his loyalty to Earth. The aliens have never lost a harvest operation, Daeho admitted. They have conquered thousands of worlds. Their technology is advanced and their ships are powerful, but they have never fought humans before. He turned to address the entire command center. Listen carefully, he said in a voice that carried to every corner of the room. Today we stop hiding. Today we show the galaxy what humans can really do. The aliens think we are weak because we appear weak. They think we are stupid because we act stupid. But we have been learning their secrets while keeping our own. The crew listened with complete attention. These people had spent years training for this moment. They had given up normal lives to serve on a ship that officially did not exist. Our ancestors survived ice ages and natural disasters, Daeho continued. They built civilizations and explored their world. They learned to fly and to split atoms. And when they discovered they were not alone in the universe, they made the hardest choice of all. They chose to wait and prepare instead of rushing forward. Chief Petty Officer Bae Won-sik, an older man who had helped build the Taeguk, spoke from his engineering station. Captain, the reactors are running at full power. All systems show green. We can surface whenever you give the order. Daeho nodded. Around him, the command center hummed with quiet activity. Every person knew their job. Every system had been tested thousands of times. The moment they had all trained for was finally here. Admiral Park, he said into his communicator. The Taeguk is ready to begin operations. Understood, Captain, Park replied. Hold position until the aliens make their first move. Let them reveal their true intentions to the world. When they start killing innocent people, we will show them what happens when someone threatens humanity. The screen went dark. Daeho looked around at his crew one more time. In a few hours, their secret would be revealed. The quiet world above would become a battlefield, and humanity would either win its freedom or lose everything. But as he watched his people work with calm efficiency, Daeho felt confident. The aliens might have superior numbers and experience, but they had never faced an enemy that had spent 70 years planning for this exact moment. Admiral Vextar watched with satisfaction as his ships destroyed another human military base. The pathetic structure collapsed in flames just like dozens of others across the planet. The humans were learning that resistance was useless. Admiral, his weapons officer reported, "We have eliminated 43 surface installations. No return fire detected. The humans appear to be completely helpless. Continue targeting civilian areas," Vextar ordered. "Kill enough of them and the rest will surrender quickly." Captain Morden frowned as he watched the destruction. Something still felt wrong about this operation. The humans were too quiet, too organized. In his experience, primitive species panicked much more when facing Imperial firepower. Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the Imperial flagship. "Admiral," the sensor officer called out in shock. "Massive energy signature rising from the ocean. Something enormous is coming to the surface." On the main screen, they watched in disbelief as the Pacific Ocean began to boil and foam. Water erupted upward like a volcano as something huge pushed toward the surface from the depths below. "What is that?" Vextar demanded. "Our scan showed nothing in those waters." "Unknown, sir," the sensor officer replied, his voice shaking. "But it's big. Really big. 15 kilometers long and still rising." The ocean exploded upward as the Teguk broke the surface. Water cascaded off its massive hull like waterfalls. The ship was so large that it looked like a new island had appeared in the Pacific. Its metal surface gleamed in the sunlight, covered with weapon ports and launch bays that had been hidden beneath the waves. On the bridge of the Teguk, Captain Lee Daeho smiled as his ship finally saw daylight after 20 years underwater. "Surface operations achieved," reported Engineer Choi Yoonji. "All systems are green. Weapons are online and ready to fire." "Sir," called Lieutenant Nam Subin from the tactical station, "I count 50 alien ships in orbital positions around Earth. They appear to be in shock." Daeho looked at the main screen, which now showed the Imperial fleet above them. The alien ships looked much smaller now that humans had something to compare them to. The Teguk was bigger than any three of them combined. "Open a communication channel to the alien fleet," Daeho ordered. "Channel open, sir," Minho replied. Daeho straightened his uniform and looked directly into the camera. When he spoke, his voice was calm and confident. "Attention alien vessels. This is Captain Lee Daeho of the Earth Defense Force vessel Teguk. You have attacked our world without provocation and killed innocent people. You have exactly 10 seconds to withdraw from Earth space or we will consider you hostile and respond accordingly." In space above, Admiral Vextar stared at the human captain in complete shock. This was impossible. His scouts had watched Earth for 2 years. There had been no sign of advanced technology or hidden military forces. "How?" he whispered. Then he roared at his crew. "How did they hide something that large? Our sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy." Captain Morden was already working at his station, trying to understand what they were seeing. "Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy readings from all over the planet. Underground facilities are powering up. There are ships emerging from hidden bases on every continent." The main screen showed the truth that made Vextar's blood run cold. Across Earth, the ground was opening to reveal launch facilities that had been completely invisible to Imperial sensors. Ships rose from hidden bases under mountains, deserts, and ice sheets. The ocean surface erupted in dozens of places as more vessels emerged from underwater hangars. "This is impossible," Vextar said again. "They're primitives. They use chemical rockets and metal bullets." "Sir," the communications officer reported, "the human captain is waiting for your response. 9 seconds remaining." Vextar's shock turned to rage. No primitive species had ever spoken to him with such disrespect. "Target that ship immediately." "Destroy it!" "Weapons locked on target," the tactical officer confirmed. "Firing now." Brilliant beams of energy lanced down from the Imperial flagship toward the Teguk, but instead of hitting their target, the beams struck some kind of invisible barrier around the human ship. The energy scattered harmlessly in all directions like water hitting a stone. "Impossible," Vextar screamed. "Our weapons can destroy planets." On the Teguk, Daeho watched the alien attack with calm interest. "Shields are holding at 98%, Nam Subin reported. "Their weapons are less powerful than our estimates suggested." 10 seconds have passed, Daeho announced to his crew. "The aliens have chosen war. Launch all fighters and begin attack operations." The sides of the Taeguk opened like the petals of a metal flower. Thousands of launch bays revealed themselves, each one holding fighters that looked nothing like the primitive aircraft the aliens had observed. These ships were sleek and fast, powered by the same technology that kept the Taeguk hidden for so long. Commander Yoon Ji-hee led the first wave of fighters into space. Her ship was smaller than the alien vessels but far more advanced. As she climbed toward the enemy fleet, she spoke to her pilots over the radio. "Remember your training," she said. "These aliens think they are superior because they have bigger ships. Show them that humans fight smarter, not just harder." The fighters moved like schools of fish, weaving between the massive alien dreadnoughts. Pilot Kang Do-yeon followed Yoon's lead, her ship dancing through enemy fire that couldn't seem to hit anything. "They're too slow," Do-yeon laughed over the radio. "Their targeting systems can't keep up with us." The human fighters struck like lightning. Their weapons cut through alien shields that had never been penetrated before. One by one, Imperial ships began to explode as humans found weak points that no enemy had ever discovered. Admiral Vextar watched in horror as his fleet began to fall apart. 12 of his dreadnoughts were already destroyed and more were taking heavy damage. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Their technology should be centuries behind ours." Captain Morden was studying the battle with growing understanding. "Admiral, I think we have been deceived. These humans have been watching us just as much as we have been watching them. They know exactly how our ships work and where our weaknesses are." On Earth's surface, the truth was becoming clear to everyone watching. The primitive military bases that the aliens had destroyed were empty decoys. The real human forces had been hidden underground and underwater, waiting for this moment. Captain Oh Tae-min surfaced his submarine near the Taeguk, adding his ship's firepower to the battle. Like everything else in the human fleet, his vessel was far more advanced than it appeared. What looked like a simple submarine was actually a stealth destroyer with weapons that could threaten ships in orbit. "Captain Dae-ho," Oh reported over the radio. "The Pacific Fleet is fully operational. We have the aliens surrounded." Dae-ho smiled as he watched the battle unfold around him. The aliens had fallen into a perfect trap. They had come to harvest a world they thought was defenseless, but instead they had found an enemy that had spent decades preparing for exactly this moment. "All ships," he broadcast to the human fleet, "press the attack. Today we show the galaxy that Earth belongs to humanity." In space above, Admiral Vextar realized that his perfect harvest operation had become a disaster. The humans had not only hidden their true capabilities, they had planned this entire battle in advance. Every move his fleet made seemed to be exactly what the humans expected. For the first time in his long career, Vextar began to think that the Galactic Empire might actually lose a battle.